Hi everyone, a really warm welcome back. It's actually the 2nd of January 2020 today, and all four of us are in the bus with the caravan on the back.
In half a mile, use the left lane to take the A36 slip road to Warminster.
And we're heading off to the Caravan and Motorhome Club site at Longleat to check out what all the fuss about this Festival of Lights is all about. We're only here for 2 nights because my hubby Mike really doesn't love being cooped up in our tiny caravan, but we've got some friends and some family in the area, so we'll be visiting them as well, and then the Festival of Lights, and then home for a couple of days to get mentally prepared for the burden of work and school next week. So today's video will be all about us arriving at Longleat and a quick tour of the site, and then the next one in this tiny little series will be all about the Festival of Light. And Mike has a new Sonny Alpha something or another, so in his hands the steels will be absolutely fantastic. The video bits, however, by me with the G7X will be their usual very practical rather than artistically beautiful standard, but nevertheless enjoy and thanks for following along. So whilst I've been withering on, we've come off the A303, we've come from the east and done a 270-degree turn to go back over the A303 on the A36 itself. The slip road off the A303 is really short, with a give way after a couple of 100 yards off of the dual carriageway, so do get your speed down pretty rapidly, and then watch out to ensure you're taking the correct A36 slip road. Make sure you're taking the first turn on the left heading for Warminster, not going straight on and ending up heading south to Salisbury. If you're merrily ploughing along the A303 and you miss the A36 turn, of course you can stay on the A303 to the next junction, which is to the A350. But there's no slip road, so you'll have to turn across the A303 itself. It's single carriageway by then, but of course it does have a horrific volume of traffic, and you'll have to be turning across that from a turning lane though. If you're coming from the south or the southwest along the A303, I guess you'd come off at the A359 at Sparkford. Probably best not to use the lanes around Bruton, etc. if your sat-nav has taken leave of its senses. Don't go that way. Actually, I have some footage from the last little bit of that route when we were here at Torafest in May. And I've got some footage of that last little bit of the route from the southwest as you come along the A361. So I'll pop that at the end of this little bit. So keep following along the A36 until you get to the Clay Hill roundabout, where the A362 meets the A36. There's a total of about 12 miles between the A303 and the A362, so just a couple of roundabouts in between. Then follow the A362, bearing right at the first roundabout you get to, which is the main entrance to Longleat House itself. So don't go in there unless you want to be parked up in all the estate has to offer. Although this is an A road, it's a bit dark and narrow and windy in a few places, especially just after this main entrance to the estate itself. And occasionally it isn't even wide enough for central lane markings, so do take it steady, especially if you're in a larger rig. As you start to come back into civilization, if you're using Google Maps or a normal car sat-nav, it will probably want to take you down some of these lanes off to the left. Whatever you do, ignore it. One or two of those lanes are really incredibly skinny and very slippery. So carry on the main road, go past the Royal Oak pub and past the tiny lanes themselves until you start to come into Lane End village or hamlet and a 40 mph zone. There's a white direction sign on the right showing Frome. Yes, that's Frome, not Frommy or Frome. Straight on, Lies Green right and Lane End on the left. It's this left turn that you want. It's a very tight corner and a blind turn just after you've turned in, so really slow down well before you get there. Handily, there's a huge creamy whitey building on the corner, which is White Hart pub. You turn left directly after the building itself, but the road markings are quite confusing actually, because the markings for their car park merge into the junction markings, and actually the junction markings are mostly worn away, so the turning looks from the road markings as if it's closer than it is. That's the pub's car park, so turn directly left immediately after the building. So turning left here, you turn onto Mill Lane. Be aware though that there's a blind corner almost immediately, so just past the building itself, so you won't see if anything's coming. It's a quiet lane though with just a few houses, so I bet if you do meet any traffic it's probably coming from the club site. Then follow Mill Lane around to the left where it starts to become Gray's Hill, and then eventually it becomes the Stoles. You'll pass a couple of the very skinny lanes that I mentioned earlier that you could have been brought down by Google Maps or so on, so do count your blessings at this point. Anyway, keep following around using the signs, as now you're onto the Longleat estate itself, until you get to the club site. Enjoy your visit, and remember when it's time to go that the very strict arrival and departure times are there because of that nasty blind bend and hill on Mill Lane coming out onto the main road. So as promised, here's some footage from way back in May 2019, and it starts as we're at the Catch roundabout. This is where the A359 meets the A361, and the 361 of course allows you to turn off onto the 362, which gets you to Longleat. Now, if you've come up the A359 from its junction with the A303, you'll have come through Bruton Village Centre, which is very thin, although small lorries and trucks and vans and so on use it all the time and they go through there. And at least it's one way for the high street portion of the route. Though if you like lane markings down the centre of the road and are not happy having to weave around blind bends or parked cars in very skinny lanes, then I'd advise going the long way around. Anyway, assuming you have come this way, it's right at the second roundabout. Then it's the second turn to go straight on at the third roundabout, and then watch out for an unexpected but fairly major turn to the right where the A361 and the 362 meet. So take that right to head towards Longleat, and incidentally, if you want to go into the Asda Superstore, you need to turn left here onto Warminster Road, because although the local Asda is right next to the A361, there's no access to that road from the supermarket itself. Then carry along the 362 until you spot the White Hart. Turn right here onto Mill Lane that carries on into Gaze Hill and so on, and follow around as per usual. So I hope it was helpful including that bit of extra footage. As I said, it's very skinny on some of the routes, especially through Bruton itself, so do what I do and check things out using Google Street View if you're not quite sure whether that's the route for you. So here's a little look around the site itself. It's a mixture of footage from May 2019 and January 2020, so that you can see what it looks like in all seasons, with the trees in full leaf and bare, and also when it's packed and when it's virtually empty. And as per usual, I'll show you using the site plan where I'm filming from. if your youngest son grabs your camera, you might get filmed emptying the loo. One handy thing actually about the Longleat site that I haven't seen elsewhere is that quite a few of the service points actually have chemical loo disposal. And it's not just in the main facilities block, which I thought was really handy and very pleasant in the fresh air actually, as long as it's not raining of course. Anyway, really hope that was all helpful. If you pitch up between the play area and the reception, you might be lucky enough to spot some of the local residents. Anyway, that's all for now. If it was helpful, give us a thumbs up, and of course please do subscribe, because we have an awful lot of people watching who aren't subscribed, and it really helps our tiny channel to grow if you do press that subscribe button. Anyway, that's all, so bye for now.